We're giving away gear from the KBLA store to say thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580 as we celebrate our second anniversary. Each weekday, a different host will be giving away fresh merch to one lucky caller. All you have to do is keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580 throughout the day, and our host will tell you when to dial in and when. It's our way of showing appreciation to you for helping make KBLA Talk 1580 the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of information for listeners just like you. Here's hoping you'll be one of our lucky winners. But you can always head over to the KBLA store anytime for the best in KBLA Talk 1580 gear for yourself and great gift ideas. Now, celebrating 2 years of being your go-to, we're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
I'm going back to the south. I'm going back, where my roots ain't watered down. Growing like a baobab tree of life on fertile ground. Ancestor put me on game.
Welcome forward. You are checking out hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe, our inaugural episode. We are live in studio with Trent Jackson, Trent the artist. He's an author, podcaster, your Keep It Real friend. His podcast, In the Mix with Trent, is a conversation you didn't know you needed. And we are going to talk more with him, get into more trending topics. And also, we're going to talk about a film that came out over the weekend, The Blackening. So this film is extremely funny, right? It is a horror comedy. It stars an all-black cast that includes Sinqua Walls. You know, you've seen him on Power, White Man Can't Jump, just the remake that just came out. Who else is in it? Oh, I blanked. Antoinette Robinson, you know her from Dear White People. Jay Farrow, Yvonne Orji, Melvin Gregg. He was on Snowfall. So it begs the question, with an all-black cast in a horror movie, who dies first? Well, I have the answer for you, kind of. So this group of friends, they're college friends, they are reuniting for, a social during Juneteenth. They're going to a cabin in the woods. Now, again, per your conversation earlier, you don't think that this is something naturally that black people do.
Now, black people do go to cabins in the woods.
Okay.
Okay, we do that. There's Big Bear. There's the cabins out in Tennessee. I forgot what they're called. Aunt Bay's cabins or something. We do that. So I can see that. Now, deep off in the woods is just doing too much. We got to be by a path and some other lights and cabins,
Well, I mean, there might have been, but, cabins are there. You want to turn up. You want to enjoy the festivities. So
for sure.
They go out and a homicidal maniac starts stalking them. And he forces them to play a game. The game is called The Blackening. And the point of the game is the killer will save the person who is the least blackest. So he is hunting the blackest amongst them. And it asks them several questions. So, I interviewed the cast about 2 weeks ago. This is definitely a movie you want to go see in theaters. I was wondering if it would start like, how we have a Memorial Day tradition where there's a blockbuster movie that comes out. There's a 4th of July tradition. Why couldn't we have that for Juneteenth? We kind of got it started. We got the season kicked off. We had The Little Mermaid. We had the Spider-Verse series, the animated cartoon. Animated film. It's not a cartoon. That's disrespectful to the film. So, animated film. And we also had Transformers, all starring black or brown cast members pushing that through. So I thought, this would be a perfect time. Well, kind of didn't turn out like that. The Blackening came in 6th place as far as box office dollars. Not terrible. The Flash and Elemental also came out this weekend. The Flash has been heavily discussed because it was expected to restart the DC universe, and there were some problems with its star Ezra Miller as it comes to some abuse allegations, and there were questions as to how it was handled. But obviously, maybe the movie just wasn't that good because it was disappointing as far as numbers, but it did come in at number 1. But back to The Blackening.
Yes.
So, in it, for example, a question that is asked is, do you know the second verse of the Black National Anthem?
No one knows that.
Are you sure about that?
No, a handful of people do, but the majority of people do not because we're not doing all that.
So, I talked to the cast, and I wanted to know what they would do, what would cause them to take away their friend's black card amongst their friend group.
They take away mine all the time.
Listen, I will ask you how in a moment. We'll talk about that. But the way that we broke it down was, listen, not knowing how to play dominoes, messing up the macaroni and cheese.
Yes.
Or reneging on the spades game. Now, Grace Byers came in hot and passionate with her answer, and Andy is going to, she was Boo Boo Kitty. Play it for us right now.
Taking in the spades game. You ain't got to say I didn't even know if that was a part of the multiple choice, but I was sitting to make it one, okay? Do not renege on a doggone spades game. Are you serious? You know how hard we work on the mac and cheese. I don't got to eat the mac and cheese. But if the mac and cheese is bad, but the potato salad is good, okay. You're okay. The mac and cheese may be bad. Raisins in the mac and cheese. Like, you wouldn't be tight. I mean, as long as there's some good potato salad, and some good potato salad, some good cornbread, you know, some good greens, I might be all right.
You only say that because she's really good at spades.
Spades food is egregious, but the mac and cheese.
The mac and cheese would have me. Like I'm saying, like I definitely think you're reneging the spades game. But if I go over your house or you invite me to something and it's a black function and the mac and cheese is out.
But here's the thing, okay? Can I say my point one more time? Here's why. Because the mac and cheese somebody else made, right? There's no investment of me within that. You feel me? Okay. But the spades game, I work hard with you to get them books, and now we finna lose because you wasn't paying.
Listen, do you hear that about the spades game? I feel the mac and cheese though, because it does affect everybody. So I'm kind of on the fence because spades is personal, and if you make me renege, it's gonna hurt. Like, we're gonna have a problem. People get violent sometimes over spades games. I don't play dominoes, so lose me there.
She went all the way nuck-if-you-buck over that spades game, which was good to see. I love when Boo Boo Kitty gets a little riled up. I love that side of her. However, it's the macaroni and cheese for me.
It's the macaroni and cheese for you.
My family we're not a spades family. We're a dominoes family. So it's all about that macaroni and cheese. And in the friend group, it's about, and I make the macaroni and cheese. So I can't mess that up, and I'm saying, like, it sets the tone for everything.
It sets the tone for everything.
Absolutely.
I respect that. When we come forward, we're going to talk a little bit about Megan Good and Jonathan Majors and some things that are happening with them. We're also going to get into a little bit of conversation about California and Texas and what's happening with those two states together. You know, we have a lot to talk about. Thank you for checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe. You are listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that's between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. Eligibility criteria apply and funding is limited. For more information, visit COVIDPaidSick.com. If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that has between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate.
Can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job training starting at $19.10 per hour, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus is a great employer. Let Culver City Bus connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in the community, you are invited to join the Culver City Bus team. Start your journey today by submitting an application at culvercity.org/jobs. For more info, visit culvercitybus.com or call live customer service operators at 310-253-6500.
Your health is important, so keep yourself and your family covered with Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal renewals will be happening soon, so if you have Medi-Cal, make sure you don't miss any important renewal information. If you've moved in the last 3 years, check and update your mailing address, email address, and phone number. Learn more at keepmedicalcoverage.org. That's keepmedicalcoverage.org. Paid for by the California Department of Healthcare Services.
You're listening to K-Trip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Trip. Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe right here on Talk 1580. Listen, I didn't give you the full breakdown of The Blackening. It is a horror comedy. I should say that. It is not just horror, but we have to talk a little bit about, we complain a lot about the way that we are kind of pigeonholed in certain things. You know, we get our slave movie a year, we're featured in our action adventures or whatever, but we don't get different versions of us, you know, from different experiences. And one thing that is important about this film, The Blackening, is that I know we mentioned that the serial killer is hunting the blackest, but one of the things that is ironic about the film that they stand on is that there are different types of black people and that we all have a different experience, and when we come together, just because your experience is slightly different from mine or there's some things that maybe you didn't experience coming up that the majority did, it doesn't mean that you are in any way, shape, or form less black. And I think that that is a conversation that is coming up more and more as we see conversations happening within the diaspora and discussing about Afro-Latina and how that lines up against your blackness, and just, you know, our brothers and sisters that are over in Africa and what they think about black Americans and what black Americans and misconceptions may have going that way. So that's one of the important things about the film, but it doesn't do it in a way where you feel like, message, I don't know if you know, that's familiar to you. Yeah. I hope so. That's a movie reference. Sure. Anyway.
Shout out to the Wayans brothers.
It is in the flow of the movie. It's entertaining. It is definitely an experience that you want to take in a theater or with a friend, because there are definitely moments that speak to black culture collectively and the fun that we have in those moments. So you should definitely check it out if you can and support and make sure that this independent film gets elevated. So let me give you a little bit about the history of the film. It started off as a short in 2018, just really quick, something funny on the internet. It was by an improv comedy troupe. One of the members is named Dwayne Perkins. He writes on the Amber Ruffin Show and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's also in the full-length feature film. It's directed by Tim Story. You know him from Barbershop, Think Like a Man, a whole bunch of other films. It was co-written by Tracy Oliver, who created Girls Trip and the series Harlem that Grace is currently starring in with Megan Good, who we're going to talk about now because I think that's a great segue. The bottom line is go check out The Blackening. It's really funny. It is scary, but it's funny. Like not, well, I don't want to give too much away, but check it out. It's a good scare and a good laugh, and you will definitely enjoy it. And let me know your thoughts, because...
And it's only in theaters, right?
It's only in theaters right now. It'll be to streaming at some point, but go support it in theaters, because we have to make sure that the message isn't just that we only show up for superhero stuff. So, you know. Anyway, let's talk about Megan Good and Jonathan Majors. Speaking about superhero stuff, both of them are a part of superhero franchises. Megan is a part of the Shazam franchise under DC. Jonathan is obviously was just seen in the Ant-Man film that came out a couple of months ago, and we know we were building up to seeing more from him as Kang the Conqueror, and then he got into a little problem, a little domestic issue with his maybe ex-girlfriend, not sure what their situation was at the time of the incident. But it has since come out that he and Megan Good are friendly. right? We don't know exactly the nature of their relationship. Looks like they're dating. We saw them on a date at Denny's where he bought like her mom and sister flowers.
Red Lobster.
Oh, it was Red Lobster.
Red
my
Lobster,
bad. Okay,
yes.
my bad. Cheddar Bay biscuits. I have to get that correct because I'm sure that's why they were there because I'm sure they always go to Red Lobster, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. Look like a little PR thing. Come on, Andy, come through.
I got a question. Red Lobster, though?
Red Lobster.
For Jonathan Majors and the Megan Good? There's no uproar?
They were very regular in Woodland Hills that day.
They listen. I think it felt very much like a mini pap stroll, but what do we know? Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Let's call it what it
favorite.
is.
Was it what is it? The shrimp season, the shrimp season sampler or something? I don't know, but listen, they're dating, and Megan supported him today as Jonathan went to court. His next court date is in August, but after Megan went in and she was, per reports, they were very cuddly in court a little bit.
Did she confirm that they're dating?
She hasn't confirmed it per se, but she
So it's alleged.
I mean, it's alleged, but you see them holding hands.
What does that mean?
It means that they are. What did I say
hands
initially?
with my friends all the time.
What I said initially is that they are friendly, that they have some sort of close relationship.
I think she's just being a supportive friend.
And you might be right.
She seems like a strong black woman, stand by your man type.
And you might be right.
I'm coming through for my homeboy right now and all like that, but I don't think it's anything.
I don't know about that part, but
yeah. I think that she is still in love with her ex-husband.
Do you really?
I do.
Okay.
I think they're still in love with each other.
There's
no way that even if you hate somebody or it falls out after being married and intimate with somebody for that much amount of time, you don't get over them that quickly.
But maybe they had already started. Well, listen, I'm not going to speculate about that. Anyway, what I'm saying is, and I'm talking about the end of their relationship, nothing to do with her current relationship.
I think they're just friends.
Well, Megan put out on her Insta story that peace will sometimes look like letting people be wrong about you. So there's many ways that we can look at that. There are many things that we can take under consideration. She put it out today after the announcement that she was in court with Jonathan. We don't know. Like you said, you just alluded to, we don't know their status. So she might be saying that people are assuming that the nature of their relationship is one way, but it's actually something.
Or it could be about his situation that happened in New York.
It could be about a lot of things, We don't know. So we're going to stick on this courthouse beat that we're on for a second because there is more to discuss as far as headlines and trending topics in court news. So we know that Tory Lanez is currently waiting to be sentenced, and there's been an uproar with his appeals and things like that. Now, Megan the reporter, that is Megan Cuniff, I believe is how you pronounce her name, became popular during the trial because she was one of the reporters that was actually in the courtroom and gave out a lot of information as far as testimony and relayed what is happening. So we know that Tory's current lawyer asked Tory to agree to allow his prior communication with his previous lawyer to be released. This is being done in order to try and attempt to get an appeal on his sentence, not on his sentencing, on his conviction, and some impropriety that they believe happened as far as jury selection and the judge and things of that nature. However, one of the things that came out when this information was shared was that Tory's first lawyer, Sean Hawley, who is a legendary black female lawyer, has taken on many cases, used to work with Johnny Cochran. You know her from the O.J. trial. Those were her early roots. Also, there's a series currently on Hulu that is loosely based on her life called Reasonable Doubt that starred Emma Yahtzee, and Michael Ealy was in it and some others. So, check that out. But anyway, Sean was initially representing Tory. And so she exited as Tory's counsel because they wanted to blame the shooting on Kelsey's friend, who Tory was also dating or involved with Kelsey. And so those emails are released. Now, we can get into, we don't need to retry the Tory trial or the Meghan. We know what that is. We know he's awaiting sentencing. We know he's up for 13 years. We're going to see what happens as far as that. But what I want to talk about from you is bad representation. At what point do you think that Tory should have just maybe taken the plea deal or thought about what was happening with his case? Because it seems like even from a layman's perspective, some of the choices that are being made in these celebrity high-profile cases, as we mentioned Jonathan Majors, there were some text messages from Jonathan's lawyer that were released. Everyone's on the fence as to whether those hurt or helped his case. Do you think that as we are continuing to dive further down the litigious society that we have become, that people need to take their representation more seriously?
As a person who has been in several lawsuits, listen, I live in California, a very litigious state, okay? All of that matters. And I have a question, though, because my mind is like, whatever happened to attorney-client privilege? Why are we releasing these conversations between clients and an attorney? Like, what is that for?
Well, his lawyer suggested that he do that.
I think that's bad advice.
I think
because
so
we don't
as
need to know what me and my attorney is talking about and how we plotting. That's see, no.
It has to do with his appeal and some of the things that they are listing. I am not a legal expert, so I will not attempt to break that down further. But the email was released. Smart. It doesn't seem smart at all. And she basically told them she wasn't comfortable with this defense. And the only way she could be comfortable is if Tory's driver and Tory himself testified to that. And even then, she didn't think it was a great idea.
Is that the one that disappeared in the trial?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
So basically, it was a botched up lie, and she didn't feel comfortable getting paid enough to lie for them. That's what that sounds like.
She's not a loser. She doesn't lose, so she's not going to take on an unwinnable case with a shot.
So she didn't want to lie with a botched up scam. That's all it was.
Pretty much.
Got it.
But do you think we see it more and more? We see a lot of even regular people. How do you think since you said that you've been involved in several situations, how do you go about picking an attorney? How do you know that you are making the smart choice?
People do not follow their gut feeling. You know, you got to go on vibes. I'm big on that. I'm talking to you, and I need to understand. I need to feel 100% confident that you can represent me as well as I think that you should. Fortunately, in my case, I knew the attorneys representing me. They came highly recommended by high-profile clients, so I felt comfortable right away, and it worked out for me. I just kind of got blessed in that situation. But again, it's all about talking to your attorney, making sure that you guys are on the same page and strategizing together. And if you aren't, unified, then you don't need to be working with them because you want the same outcome.
Right.
And you want to feel like you're going to win and confident with what you're going in with.
Well, that is an amazing segue because we have more court files to discuss.
Oh, my God, of course.
Kind of. This one involves an old suit that happened between Russell Simmons, Kimora Lee Simmons, and her now estranged ex-husband, Tim. So if you've been paying attention, over the weekend, started on Father's Day, really a little before that, there's been some back and forth on social media with Kimora putting Russell on blast regarding his role as a father and stating that he has been harassing her and the kids, cursing them out, calling them very foul names. He called, why are you laughing, Trent?
I don't mean to laugh. Come on, this is your show. Go ahead and finish your thought. Don't mind me at all. I'm just processing the information. So I'm imagining, little yoga Russie, just, pieced out and, in a little stance and cursing at the same time.
Well, he wasn't little pieced out, Russell.
I'm trying to make it make sense in my brain. That's
he
all.
was yelling quite a bit, and if you are into lip reading, as some people are, then you can make out some of the conversation. He was talking to his youngest daughter. Please don't laugh, Trent. Why are you laughing? This is not funny.
I'm listening.
Listen. So, okay, Russell was going off because he feels that Kimora, when he fled off to Bali for reasons undiscussed.
He went to go do
at
yoga.
The moment.
And
he
to
went
be
to go do
peaceful.
yoga and avoid some things. It seems as if he may have on the low when they were still cool, because keep in mind, Kimora and Russell have been separated since 2006. I think the divorce was finalized a couple of years later. So they have been divorced, not together, for almost 20 years, but maintained a friendship. So Russell accused Kimora of course, stealing some money from him. So now he is broke, destitute, going off on his family. His daughters say they think that he might have a mental problem. But what I want to talk to you about is, the conversation has come up about Kimora and whether Russell groomed her, and she was protecting, and she even said in this live that she was the one that everyone would go to stand up for people and say the good word, put the good word out there. And now some people are mad that she is speaking her truth on this topic because they felt that she protected Russell for so long and that she kept things quiet. She alluded to that. Do you think that in a situation as such, when you are doing things that are in theory for the betterment of your family, or opting maybe not to get involved in a situation like this, when you have reached a boiling point, or maybe, you are broken too, do you think it's fair to take those slings and arrows from the public, sort of saying, well, you want sympathy, but you didn't have any for A, B, and C when they were in this situation that you were close to?
This is a very, very, very slippery slope. And
I agree.
Here's the thing. What goes around comes around. So you can't have your hand in a bunch of mess and actively participate in it and then cry foul later. You got to take responsibility for something at some point because you played a part in it and you signed up for it. You knew what it was. However, we've got this layer of abuse in there too that she's kind of alluding to. So people do things when they're being abused. We can't really speak to what was going on. We know there's a lot of stuff going on. It's layered. It's sloppy. It's messy, just like any other situation. And you got it's number one. You shouldn't throw around titles like somebody's crazy. They got mental problems, right? Unless you know for a fact there's some documented things, and even still, you shouldn't even. That's a violation of somebody's HIPAA law. Don't be bringing up nobody's stuff.
That is not a violation of HIPAA.
However, he's also too. How many black dads just pop off and go crazy and curse all the time? So it sounds like to me he's just being the typical black dad who got used up. He's also exhausted. He's had enough, and now he's venting. We don't know.
We'll have to see. Hopefully they will keep it off social media.
She is also one that seems like she's into the bag, and not to to shame her for that, but you've dated high-profile rich men back to back.
We're going to put a pin in that.
Listen,
and we're going to get back to that topic because you seem to be up on the gold digger thing for the night. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe. That is Trent the Artist. When we come forward, we will continue on this topic and get into some others as we are on our court beat.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Julius White. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network.
I'm very proud of my son.
That's all President Biden said in response to shouted questions from reporters ahead of a meeting on artificial intelligence in San Francisco. The comment comes as Hunter Biden has struck a deal with federal prosecutors to plead guilty to 2 tax misdemeanors and to resolve a felony gun charge. As part of the agreement, the Justice Department has agreed to recommend a sentence of probation. Meantime, the New York Times reports industry leaders warned OceanGate about potential issues with its Titanic expeditions. The newspaper obtained a letter from 2018 that warned OceanGate its experimental approach with its vessel could lead to catastrophic outcomes. One of the company's submersibles has been missing since Sunday, with 5 people on board. And the people who guaranteed Congressman George Santos' $500,000 bond in his criminal fraud case will have their identities revealed. I'm Julius White on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Second half of the year looking busier than the first? Hire with Indeed. Their powerful platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Every weekday weekday during the month of June, we're giving away gear from the KBLA store to say thank you for your support of KBLA Talk 1580 as we celebrate our second anniversary. Each weekday, a different host will be giving away fresh merch to one lucky caller. All you have to do is keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580 throughout the day, and our host will tell you when to dial in and when. It's our way of showing appreciation to you for helping make KBLA Talk 1580 the most trusted, credible, and reliable source of information for listeners just like you. Here's hoping you'll be one of our lucky winners. But you can always head over to the KBLA store anytime for the best in KBLA Talk 1580 gear for yourself and great gift ideas. Now, celebrating 2 years of being your go-to, we're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Hey LA, keep your utility bills low this summer while making your home the cool place to be. LADWP can help you save hundreds with air conditioner and thermostat rebates, plus free energy-efficient home upgrades and simple tips to help you beat the heat and save money. Visit ladwp.com/cool-LA.
Procter & Gamble recognizes the importance of Juneteenth.
Hello, I'm Darla Mays from Texas talking about Juneteenth.
So why do we celebrate a holiday about the news finally reaching Texas in 1865 when it happened in 1863?
Well, the emancipation had to be enforced by federal troops, and they did take their sweet time getting to Texas. Some say to give plantation owners more free slave labor time to make more money.
I believe that.
But late liberty is no less liberty. My great-grandmother said her mama Willie and everybody dropped what was in their hands and stopped whatever they were doing. Her Uncle John jumped up on a tree stump, couldn't stop dancing and shouting. Juneteenth. It's our day. It's our only day.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's widen all views to the resilience, joy, beauty, and vastness of the Black experience. Learn more at pg.com/widen the screen.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
"Those stomach issues ruined your birthday"?
"You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa."
"Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis."
If these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist and ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
This was the jam.
Always. Forever jam.
It's like a summer vibe, which is very much appropriate because we are on the cusp of the summer solstice.
Yes, a couple
Tomorrow,
hours away.
First date of summer.
Yes.
My season. I love it. Well, I'm actually in my season because I'm a spring baby, but I love summer, you know. You are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe right here live on KBLA Talk 1580. I am here with Trent the artist. We are running down these trending topics. We just went through a little court block segment because there's always lots of legal issues to discuss, and we just want to make sure that you are informed. But we also have an update for you to a story that we discussed earlier. The U.S. Coast Guard says a Canadian aircraft has detected underwater noises during their search for the missing sub near the Titanic wreck. So maybe those individuals are that much closer to being brought home. What I will say, though, is Black Twitter is doing its very best Black Twitter thing. And some of these tweets,
what are they saying?
Hilarious.
I'm dying to know.
Well, first of all, you know, everyone has a joke. So one of the jokes, quite naturally, yeah. I mean, it's a serious situation, but we always find a little bit of humor through pain. I think that is something
to.
that we had to do.
Yes.
That is something that is embedded in us. I know I am the person, if there is something serious going on, you may not want to stand next to me. Maybe. Depends on what it is.
I learned that about 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, clearly you.
Oh, see, I take it a step further. I'm actually going to say something and whisper audibly, so you definitely don't want to stand next to me.
Across the room, because we need to maintain.
No, not even across the room, because as soon as I see you make eyes with you, it's going to be over.
It's going to be that eye communication thing.
I'm going to lose it.
There was a joke about that in the Blackening, about that telepathy communication that happens when you are with your friends, black friends especially, in an environment, we all have that, where you don't have to say anything. You just give that look.
If we could just apply that same type of telepathy to other situations, we'd be all right.
We would be on top.
On point.
But back to Black Twitter. So they were having jokes saying that the passengers that were on the mini submarine, that they were now starting to see images of the Titanic passengers welcoming them aboard.
See? Exactly. They know.
They said that they probably should see if Sebastian could rescue them.
Exactly.
Under the sea.
They know.
Dory from
Finding
is
Nemo.
from Finding Nemo.
Yep.
Okay, so there were some jokes. Now the joke has switched to, since there's a possibility that this craft has been discovered, what would you do? What's the first thing that you do when you are released from a submarine that has been missing since Sunday, floating around the dark ocean? What's the first thing you do when you get out?
Don't even ask me, because I'm not getting that submarine to begin with, so I wouldn't even know.
You can't even imagine.
I couldn't even imagine that,
because
I'm not getting in that at all for any reason.
Well, some of the jokes we got were they would enact the scene from Destiny's Child Survivor video.
Oh yeah, fist pump.
Fist pump, baby, fist pump. Or maybe in the life raft. We have a couple of others that are saying, rip me out the plastic. That's Lotto and Cardi's new song. A couple other people, I'm feeling brand new. So, there's that. We always, like I said, have a good joke. So anyway, we're going to put a pin in that, and we're going to talk about something that is not blotter related, but it is related to situations. Now, we hear a lot about Los Angeles and people leaving the Los Angeles area, especially during the last 3 years. The pandemic brought a lot of change in the area, a lot of moving around, a lot of moving parts, because people had the option with remote work coming in to move to some place where they could get a little more for their money. So the running conversation piece, I guess, for the past couple of years is that California residents are taking over Texas. They're invading Austin, they're invading Houston, they are running it down, bringing all of their California ways
running
with
it
them.
down,
Just being Californians, bringing our things.
Like what? What does that even mean?
Our things, our certain attitude, I guess maybe our voting habits. I don't know. They don't really want us there, because Texas is a red state and we're a blue state, so left and right. But anyway, so what I want to ask you, more importantly, with a sort of reverse migration happening, because obviously Texas was where Juneteenth originated, right? In the 1950s and 60s, especially in this area, there was what's known as the Great Migration, where black people moved from those states and southern states out here for more opportunity, more jobs, things of that nature. So since we are seeing the reverse of that, I want to know from you, what percentage of Texas new population is comprised of Californians?
40%.
You think 40% of Texas is now former Californians?
Okay, 30. I mean, because they're upset, so it has to be a large percentage. Because they shouldn't be that bothered by 2% or 5%. If they're bothered by something under than 10%, they've really got more issues that they could be worried about, like policing women's bodies and eliminating black people from out of history books. So what is the number?
So what I will say is that it is the highest number of out-of-state transplants moving to Texas in the past 3 years. The number it is, Texas is obviously one of the more popular states as far as moving, state income tax. So since 2020, approximately 105,000 people have moved from California to Texas. ask me, what percentage do you think that is of the Texas population?
Well, you have the answer, so we're waiting on you to tell us.
I want you to guess, though.
Because 40%, my 40% was obviously too high. So
extremely too high.
So 20%.
0.36.
No way.
36%.
No way.
Not 36. 0.36%. So less than a percentage point.
Yeah.
Not even a percent.
Wow, they have other things. Their priorities are all the way screwed up.
They are. So basically, Texas has gained about almost 600,000 residents over the past 3 years. Of that number, they have lost about 420 residents moving to other areas. But guess where most of their domestic migration came from? Because it's not us. It's not California.
Give us a hint.
Give us a hint. So.
Is it Arizona?
Well, no. That is actually that's the second most popular destination for former California residents.
Yep,
so
I get that.
63,000 people moved there, and then Nevada was coming in third with 55,000. So the highest population of transplant residents are actually going, well, I said this wrong, not who's the highest moving to Texas, where the highest number of California residents are moving out to.
Oh, that's easy.
What?
Vegas.
Nevada is up there. It actually, yes, it is the top. But the second one.
Arizona.
No. Idaho.
Potatoes. Wow.
Middle America. Flyover state.
Interesting.
I thought it was interesting as well, because you always have this image of, those from the coastal states.
It's so funny. My brother lived there at one point.
Idaho?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He didn't like it. He moved.
But what was he there for?
He's a like computer tech person.
Okay.
Tech world, yeah.
So there's tech stuff in Idaho?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Government stuff.
That's what I figured. Yeah, because you were being a little evasive and, well, when we come forward, we'll get into some more things, all the things. We have so many topics still left to discuss. We're going to get in more with our Keep It Real friend, Trent the artist, and talk about some of his most recent podcast episodes. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
It's Black Music Appreciation Month, one of my favorite months of the year. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you in part by CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. What's up, SoCal? Here are a few Black Music Month events to help you celebrate. First stop, throughout June, Disneyland is honoring the history of Black music with bands performing hits by Black artists from various decades. Next, catch the screening of Heart and Soul, a love story at the Grammy Museum, June 8th in the museum's theater. And on Juneteenth, that's right, June 17th, join Mayor Karen Bass and Councilwoman Heather Hutt on Jefferson Boulevard for the naming and ribbon cutting ceremony of the New Orleans Corridor, followed by a second line parade all the way to the main stage in front of Harold and Bells for a concert celebrating Black music with Terrace Martin and Friends, Irvin Mayfield, 1500 or nothing, and more. Visit NOLA, the number 2, LAtickets.org. NOLA, the number 2, LAtickets.org. Fun fact, President Jimmy Carter established June as Black Music Month in 1979. Here's to 44 years.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If your Medi-Cal is ending, Cover California is here to help. Cover California is a service from the state that helps you get affordable health insurance. In many cases, at no cost to you, just like with Medi-Cal. We have quality health plans and will help you every step of the way to get the one that works for you and your family. So, if you're no longer eligible for Medi-Cal, check out Cover California. We'll keep you covered. Learn more at coveredca.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
Hey, you are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you for riding with me tonight in my first episode. Having such a good time, such an interesting conversation with my guest here, Trent the artist, Trent Jackson. I just know you have something to say. I already see it.
Well, no, I'm waiting on your prompts. This is your show. I don't want to take over, so
you can't.
I'm being respectful.
You can't.
I know.
You know,
it's your show.
You're next to me, but we're here. So shout out to the chat. The chat is still going up. I appreciate every one of you in the chat. Shout out to Terry. You know, sure. We asked a question in the chat, my good question. Would you consider taking that trip of a lifetime, $250,000, to see the Titanic wreck or something along those lines? Very adventurous. Terry said that he would if he could go with me. You know, I didn't know that was an option, but hey, I appreciate the answer. I appreciate the response. We'll have to talk more, Terry. We'll get to be friends. We'll see what can happen. Crystal says, no, ma'am, that $250 can go towards another house. I already saw that movie.
Yes,
that's right.
Crystal. So shout out to Crystal. She's actually one of my listeners on my show.
Amazing.
I know that name. Yes.
Well, see.
Thanks for tuning in to Jill's show, Crystal.
But we have you here, so let's talk a bit about In the Mix with Trent and those real conversations.
It comes on tomorrow morning, actually, in a few hours.
So we talked a little bit about how you are the keep it real friend, and we used an example of you putting an end to a friendship.
Absolutely.
Getting rid of a friend. So what are the other situations that your friends maybe call on your expertise or call on you to lead the way and keep it real for them, maybe in a situation where they can't?
Everything. No, seriously, they call me about everything. But for the most part, in my friendship circle, we talk about just navigating dysfunctional families. For a lot of black people, we have these conversations that we like to sweep under the rug, and we like to suffer in silence a lot of the times. And it just causes so many different problems in our life. It shows up in different areas. So I'm a person that's pretty, self-aware. I like to reflect and dig and get to the bottom of the problem. So I talk about depression a lot, what it looks like to cope and go through it and deal. One of my most recent episodes was about Father's Day. My father was actually murdered on Father's Day when I was 6. So I've grown up with this, void in my life around that area. But every Father's Day, I used to get in this really nasty depression and last for months. So I've talked about that openly. And, you know, thank God this year I swerved all that. So this is kind of like the first time that I've, you know, been able to function and have like a normal, you know, Father's Day weekend without breaking down. So I talk about that. I've got this nasty parking situation on my block that is, you know, that happens all across LA. So there's this parking war on my block. Talk about that. I've got this neighbor who has some very nefarious intentions with me. So I talk about that. Anything that we don't really talk about openly are the things that I talk about on my show. So it goes left quite often.
Okay. So what do you think the hardest conversation or topic that you've had to deal with on your show?
I'm pretty open, so I talk about my life explicitly and openly. One of the most crazy topics, and I don't even want to say crazy topics, but one of the most hot button topics that is still baffling me to this day is black people and trans rights and this whole gay agenda. So anytime black and gay go in a sentence, you know, the room stops and it freezes up still to this day. So I talk about all those sorts of things. My very first episode of In the Mix with Trent TV, in which thank you for appearing on, by the way, was about trans rights. And basically I had a trans woman come on, a black trans woman, and talk about her experience from being a gay man to now a trans woman. So, you know, I talk about topics that we shy away from and don't want to talk about that are very difficult, you know, but it's the conversation that you didn't know that you needed.
So therapeutic wise, is it freeing to be that open, that just, you know, put your kahunas on the table, as we like to say?
Yeah.
Is it freeing, or do you find that it's intimidating to certain people?
It's scary for me at first because, you know, a lot of the times I don't really prep what I'm going to talk about. I get up and then I just go with it. So it's scary at first, but it's also very liberating, and it's off-putting to some people. But once people get past the, you know, the nuances of a couple of things, they see, you know, the point that I'm trying to make, and they actually get it. So I've gotten, actually last week I got some very, very powerful listener email. It stopped me in my tracks. I cried on the spot. I'd never, you know, in 3 years, I'd never got anything like that. A woman, she emailed me and basically said that she was, you know, going through, a lot of her friendships were changing. My show was the only constant thing that felt like a friendly conversation to her. And one morning, whatever it was, she woke up and she heard my show, and it stopped her from taking her life. And that was the highest compliment that I could have ever, you know, gotten. And that, you know, a couple of days last week, it was just like the going, you know, rate for, you know, listener feedback. So it really, you know, meant a lot to me. And the stories that I tell and the, you know, the crazy stuff that we talk about, it all kind of had a purpose and a meaning.
So do you think in this social media era where we're more connected, where we have more access to more information, do you think that those real conversations like you're talking about, that one layer deeper, do you think that they happen more, or do you think that they're taking place less just because of the ability to jump into anything that you want at any given time?
I think we have a lot of sharing, but we don't have a lot of context or depth to the sharing. So we just have a lot of people just talking. But there's nothing to the talking. It's just, you know, talk. So I like to talk, but I like to give some substance to it. People like real conversations. They like to know that you are relatable, that you've been through something, and that you can, I always, you know, hear that I provide a different perspective that no one really thought about. Relationships I talk about, you know, that's a hot button thing. And, you know, people are very interesting in 2023. They're not the same people that you and I grew up with. It's interesting just to see how humanity is going left, and it's not all bad. There's some, it's a interesting toss up. You know, we've got one side that very aware, very woke, very present, you know, ready to change, and then we've got another side that's just addicted to phones and can't really think.
So with that, having said that, right, because our phones are so center to our being at this point, especially for a younger generation, right?
Yeah.
And they just sort of get in their circles or whatever. Moving forward, how do you think our best opportunity is to continue to stay tapped in and in touch with the younger generation?
Well, the cool thing is that devices, they connect us. And I think that the only honest way to connect with the younger generation is to be real and keep it real, is to not, sugarcoat. People want something honest. They want something real. They want something that they haven't heard before. Let's have some real conversation. Let's shake the table, and I think once, just be yourself, be authentic, and that always resonates with people. People can smell a fake. They know when you're faking and full of crap, and people are tired of that. I think that's evident, and they want something different, which is why a platform like this exists.
Okay, so kind of on that note, really quickly, do you think that there's ever a reason to be fake? I mean, listen.
Well, it's what are we calling fake? There's levels to it.
Exactly, but I mean, whatever you consider it, do you think that there's a reason to be socially polite, to exercise social graces?
Sure, in some instances.
But we'll get your answer when we come forward.
Is that really being fake, though, as much as it is adapting?
We'll get your answer when we come forward. RSVP with Jill Munroe. Talk 1580. Talk.
I'm sorry.
KBLA Talk 1580. Yes, you did.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Julius White. Here's the latest from the